So the question is, can you beat the market? Well, a lot of people, they comment on my YouTube all the time and they tell me, hey, Will, this is all great that you're analyzing these stocks and it looks nice in theory, but you're never going to beat the market. And it's kind of funny because I've consistently beat the market. And I look at some of my inspirations, like Warren Buffett, for example, or even, you could pull up, the Wall Street think tank and look at some of the history of Wall Street. And what you'll find is someone like Warren Buffett, when asked about what he would do if he was starting over, and he's someone who has consistently crushed the market, actually. And in fact, when the market has gone down, his stocks has normally not gone down as much. Why? Because he knows how to defend even. Not only is he beating the market in gains, he's also beating the market in defense, which is part of why over time he continues to beat the market. But they asked him, hey Warren, if you had to go back all the way to starting over as an investor and you were just starting from zero, what would you do? And he says, I would probably look for smaller companies that have good cash flows and are innovating. And I would buy the smaller companies because it gives you a greater chance of having higher returns. And I would just focus on those companies. I'd start diving through and filtering through all the smaller companies and seeing where the profit opportunities lie. And probably would just start from there. That's literally what he said. So the thing is a lot of people think that I'm saying like, don't invest in the S&P. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is this fine kind of substrate, this section, this prime segment, okay, of the S&P, for example. And some of them are smaller companies that are growing exponentially. There are also some of the dominant companies like Nvidia and Apple and Tesla and Google. And they imagine a circle, right? And they kind of like go like, there's a piece of the pie that carries almost the whole S&P 500. And in that, there's also new companies that join the 500 that are super, super fast growing. And so now have another circle kind of overlapping. And these are all your small AI companies, your small tech companies. And the S&P even right now is heavily weighted on tech. And there's only a small percentage of them, of that pie, that is going to surpass 95% of AI companies, right? Only about 5 to 10% of them, maybe 20% of them are actually going to consistently grow and have success. And so if you overlap those circles, there's this space, there's this ellipse right here, this little honey hole. And those are the companies, right? If they are in the S&P grade, or if they're just starting to get into, you could look at a company like Palantir, right? Top 10, 20% of the AI companies and making its way into S&P. It's in that honey hole. And there's companies that are better to buy for return's sake, as opposed to if you're relying solely on S&P. And look, the S&P is good if that's not in your... Some people, they're like, well, I buy bonds, I bought crypto, I buy stocks, but I just don't touch real estate. It's not in my DNA. And I get it. And some people are like, look, Will, I have some gold, or I buy some Bitcoin or whatever, but the stocks, it's not in my DNA to be able to trade stocks. And look, if that's how you feel about it, you're right, because if you say that, you will believe that 100%. What I'm saying is there's lots of people that are beating the market. And I'm getting screenshots every day. For example, in our stock community, we have an AI stock trading system. And I get screenshots from people comparing the S&P to their portfolio. And their portfolio is outperforming the S&P on their all-time. And it's not uncommon today. And so, for example, Warren Buffett, he also doesn't believe in Bitcoin or crypto and things like that. And if you think about it, like that's totally normal, right? Because why? People that live in a certain age where things apply will believe those things. It's like when if you were trying to be an entrepreneur and your parents were like, you have to go to college and you're going to like, you'll get a good job, but that college is built for you to be an executive, or for you to learn from people to be a doctor or a lawyer or things like that. If you want to go be an entrepreneur, for example, you have to start a business. You have to try and trade or flip things and create value in a marketplace and solve problems. And a lot of times, 90% of successful entrepreneurs are dropping out of school in college, so many of them. And so you could look at that time and time again. And so it's a dated thought, I believe, that you can't outperform the S&P. It's a dated thought. And I think that the facts in the first look at what is actually true, you could look at Bitcoin, and it's consistently outperformed the S&P 500 since its inception. You could look at Nvidia on the past 10 years. You could look at Tesla stock, and there's people that they buy stocks like tech companies that are growing fast when they're at a low, and they sell at a high, and then they go and hold, and they have different, like, 3 sets of assets. They might have their high performing large cap that they're buying and holding, and they might have their smaller cap that they see that 10x or 20x potential. That are some of the AI companies that we cover on the channel, for example, like Big Bear AI, that we covered at $2 a share, and now it's $3 or $4 or over $4 at some point today. Or Rocket Lab at $3 earlier this year. They're a space company, and the space age is going to be huge, and they're starting to grow and innovate, and they're going to be one of the main players alongside SpaceX. And it makes sense that they would increase. They go from $3 to what? $27 a share just in the past year. I mean, there's things you can identify. Like, we can look at different companies. For example, AMD is tremendously down right now. It is a stock that just partnered with Starlink, and they have a partnership for doing the chips in the Starlink, all of the microchips. That's going to be huge for their company. You could say T-Mobile. Nobody expects T-Mobile. Oh, I never buy T-Mobile. Why would I buy that? Well, they partnered with Starlink about 4 or 5 years ago, and a lot of people saw that as an opportunity. It was a clear catalyst. They bought, and it's gone up hundreds of percentages, outperforming and crushing the S&P 500. So what I'm saying to you guys is, if you have smart capital allocation and you do it in a way that allows for you to consistently compound those investments, and you have a long-term focus in the trading to where you're avoiding things that are going to, really wipe out a portfolio, or hedging with a bunch of risk or things like that, but you're leveraging these opportunities that are happening in the AI, this integrated world of new tech and new AI companies, then you put yourself in the position of being in that ellipse, that crossover of high growth and quality companies. And when that happens, whether it's in stocks, whether it's in crypto, whatever it may be, you're going to position your portfolio for growth, because there is a certificate of value. What is a dollar? It's a certificate of value, right? Every time that you want to make money, you have to say, what value can I either provide or sell, or create and sell? And a lot of times, if you find an asset that is less money than what you're going to sell it for, you have bought value and you are selling it for more and creating value. And stocks are certificates of value. And so the amazing thing about today's world is, I think that there is an evolution of how people are going to be able to massively outperform what is the market, what is the S&P 500. In fact, I think the market's going to expand, and many companies are going to be starting from cryptos in different parts of the world that don't have the SEC scrutiny and things like that are going to absolutely revolutionize the whole financial world. I think that's going to be a massive change, and many people are going to outperform the market. And so I share this with you today because I was putting together some resources for our stock mates here as we enter the early this week, to make sure they're well equipped with the AI and tech stocks that are happening this year. And I thought, a lot of people are saying that it's crazy that I beat the S&P or that anybody could beat the S&P. And I'm thinking, they tell you that that's crazy, but even Warren Buffett says, oh, buy an index fund, that's crazy. But what do they say? Watch what they do, not what they say. And I think a lot of these great investors, they're not buying the S&P. And if you ask ChatGPT and you're like very focused, it can give you some great undervalued stocks. AI is going to be a big player in this industry as well. And I'm working on a tool right now. It's going to allow you to see different time frames and get analysis on time frames for different assets, whether they be stocks or crypto, that will give you an analysis of the projected up or down percentage increments that's going to go up or down in the time frame that you specify. So it might be 1 hour, it might be a day, it might be 5 days. And if you think about things like that, where you have real-time data with so much information that's going into an AI and it can have all of that data to make projections, it's going to be actually much more accurate than a lot of humans will be. And I think that seeing that AI has recently surpassed that of human IQ, and just recently, it wasn't until just a few months ago, the average, I don't know exactly what the average was, but it just surpassed over 140 IQ, which is much more than the average human. And so this is what we are working with. And so in recent years, there's been a lot of growth in the S&P, and that's awesome. But there's also been a lot of inflation. And I think that if you know how to take advantage of value that's going to well outperform the S&P, you not only beat the markets, but you just get more value in return by picking out those companies. So in the future here, I look forward to sharing with you guys some more information on some of the investments that we're making. And also, if you guys want to watch how exactly you can pick those honey hole stocks, how do you find the right markets to invest in AI, or the right assets to pick that are going to give you the right path to be able to make profits, then I would encourage you to check out that second link down below. Just for a limited time right now, we have the sale going on for the holidays. So if you want to check it out, it's called HoliTrade. Just use that coupon code in the second link down below, and I would look forward to being a part of your success. But if you guys hit that like button, do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.